The Nelson 49-1 has arrived, very nice. I made a few notes here already and then realised, maybe I should be documenting this, so I'm going to explain what I'm doing along the way. On the instructions of the 49-1 that came from Nelson, it mentions the velocity factor of cable is of quite importance, and it is indeed. They mention for 18 AWG, we'll run through the calculations in a minute, but in summary it's like 95% for 18 AWG and 98% for 14 AWG. I don't know what cable I've got. It's this stuff. So I've had to find out. I'm going to run through the notes that I've made explaining the logic to the process of them. Several things here I've needed a calculator, I've needed a ruler to roughly look at the diameter of the cable, etc. These calipers to measure the thickness of the cable, just to verify it's what I've got. And I needed the internet to see what I actually ordered in the cable, which I thought would be quicker, but I have verified what cable I have. And the most important thing is a cup of coffee. Right, on with the show. So in my calculations, oh, that's good. So they say in Detroit, it's good shit, man. Okay, so in my 49-1 end-fed half-wave calculations, the instructions here from Nelson mention 18 AWG example and a 14 AWG example on 80 meters at 3.6 megs. On 18 AWG they say to use 129.5 foot. I don't deal with foot, I deal with meters. 14 AWG 133 foot, same thing, but nonetheless they're different by about 3 foot, right? On my trusty calculator, what actually is 3.6 megs in meters or feet, really. So you punch in 3e8 to 3 exponential 8 divided by 3.6 exponential 6 equals. You divide that by 2, that will give us a half wave for 40 metres. So that comes out at 41.66 metres. If you want to make that into feet, you know there's 3.28 metres to a foot. So you multiply that by 3.28 and that comes to 136.6 foot. So referring back to Nelson's, they were quoting 14 AWG at 133 foot, 18 at 129.5. So if we want to calculate now our 136 foot as calculated and see what he mentions it as to get to the velocity factor, okay, so 136 foot is 100%. 129.5 foot is question mark percent. What do? Well, in short, we put 136 on the calculator, multiply by 0.95. That gives us 95%. And that equals 129.5 foot. So he's saying that 18 AWG is 95% velocity factor, and we do the same calculation for the 14 AWG. It comes out 136 multiplied by 0.98 gives us 98%, and that's our answer. Comes out 133 foot. So we have his two his two calculations there for those 14 AWG and 18 AWG. This wire here I've got is beautiful silicon wire, but I don't know what AWG it is, so I'm going to have a quick inspect on the internet, and we look up on Amazon actually where I bought it to see what I bought. It's got a nice feature, buy again, so look down the buy again, find what I bought. And this is in actual fact 20 AWG, has a inner diameter, so that's the strand slightly spiraled. If we spin it up like that, gives us 1 millimeter on the gauge, and on the outside it gives us about 1.8 on the gauge. And on the internet I checked it out and found it was actually 20 AWG that I have, in a diameter of 1 millimeter and outer of 1.8, so it's spot on. And in there I started to count the strands. I got to 50 and thought, oh shit, that's roughly half. So it's going to guesstimate about 100 strands, and guess what, on the description on Amazon's website it says 100 strands of tin copper 0.08 mil. So there we are, exact specification of what this is. However, we've got the 14 AWG at 98%, 18 AWG at 95%. So if we continue that on another couple, this is probably about 93% velocity factor. I don't know, I don't care. I'm going to cut too long and see what it actually comes out at in the field, in the garden, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll basically cut it, stick it out there and see. But what do we cut it at? So I've done two things. One, this is the point where I can carry on. I've already modelled it on eznec, and I've found on eznec that I need to have 9.92 meters of the radiating element, the half wave going out from the, where are we, going out off up to a fence or a tree, 9.98 meters, and I found that it gives an absolutely terrible SWR on the modelling. There is a resonance point there, but it's something like, you know, 10 to 1, 20 to 1, completely useless for if you're QRPing. So you need to bring that SWR closer to 1 to 1, whatever that may be. And I found in modelling that on this ground terminal, if I have just 60 centimetres of wire hanging down loose from here, that brings the SWR right down. Lots of conflicting information out there, but basically I believe that the counterpoise, or the negative side of this area, is done through the coaxial braid. I don't know. I'm going to go out, do this field experiment on the far end of the coax of my 7300 here, which hangs down outside. As it's minus 18 outside, I'm not going to hang around messing around setting up QRP out there on this occasion. I will in the future with a 30-foot piece of coax, which is known, and run that experiment. But for now, I'm just going to hang it straight on the end of the coax that I already have out there. Just screw her up, wire out, come in and test it. Does it work? Doesn't it work? Stick the 60 centimetres of wire on the ground side, come back in, test it. Does it work? Doesn't it work? Is it different? That's what we're going to do. However, as I said, back to this point in the notepad here, I've only got as far as I just jotted down the lengths of my eznec calculations, and I'll show on the screen now what it actually looks like on the computer screen without going into any great depth on it. But what we don't have here is the physical calculated version. Let's just keep going and going and going. So calculating, this 9.928 metres is for 20 metres. I've failed to put that down, so let's write 20 metres there. And let's see what it actually comes out as with the standard calculation. So 3E8 divided by 14.2 E6 equals, I did the wrong calculation, let's try again. 3E8 divided by 14.2 E6 equals 21 metres. Let's divide that by 2, gives us 10.56 metres. So 3E8 divided by, let's say 14.2 E6 equals, divide that whole lot by 2, equals 10.56. So that 10.56 is our 100%. Now we thought, what did I think before? It's going to be about 93%. So we'll multiply that by 0.93. Gives me 9.82. That is pretty damn close to the 9.92 that eznec calculated. So as eznec is 9.92, what would I do here? Because I want to cut back, I don't want to add. So if I just make it a straight 10 metres, so we put up 10 metres and then work out what the resonance is at 10 metres and see how far it deviates, and then we can calculate and chop back. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put it up at 10 metres with a 60 centimetre counterpoise, for a better word, or balancer, I don't really know, whatever. That's it. Right, thanks very much. Let's go do the experiment. So, I have the orange cable that I previously used here. I've got no clue whether I've got 10 metres 30 foot on there, but if not, I've got some more down there. And worst case is I've got another reel of it packed in a box that I can't find, but we'll work that out. So what do we need? I need to measure. We have a rule here, which we'll put out, and we just simply run it along the length of the rule. Yeah. So 10 metres is the aim. Here we go. One metre. They are indeed both the same length, so that's good, and we've got a little bit of supporting cable here to tie it off. what we need to do now is just solder the ends together, and perhaps a little bit of heat shrink around it. So I'm just going to put these here for now while I go get the soldering iron. Right, in that little bit of absence, I've set up the soldering iron and cut another little piece of cable that I forgot about, the 60cm piece, ready for testing later. So let's get on with the soldering down here. Look at our 2 pieces of open end, which I previously just kind of twisted loosely the end bits. I'm going to want a bit of heat shrink over it. I have here a bag of all sorts of heat shrink which I use, just miscellaneous bits that I've collected along the way, and we'll find some that will cover the wire. That's too small. Looks like it could be a candidate. It's too small. Let's get this out of the bag here. This is where, not being a pack rat, but ordering extra, keeping extra, really helps, because you will find something that will work. I'm going to shoot for this one here, and I'm just going to chop about 1 inch of it. Again, any form of snippers, cutters, whatever. Right, there we go. Does that want to close up? No, it doesn't want to close up, bloody hell. As I say, real world stuff. Yeah, there we go. There we go. No, that's broken. Okay, that's pretty good. We're done. We're done with that. So, just like when you're going to solder a coax connector and then you realise afterwards that you left the shell off, put the heat shrink on first. Not too terrible in this case, because you can find the open end and then slide it along, but it's much better if you just get it right to start with, eh? So we've got our 2 pieces of wire here. I'm just going to do a light kind of twist up like that and solder. Now, it's not held by anything, so helping hands would be really useful here. I don't have helping hands. What do I have? A pair of sprung-loaded strippers. They will do the job. So a little bit of solder. Hot iron, clean the tip. Tip's pretty clean there. Put a little bit of solder on there. I put the solder on because the solder gets hot, it creates more of a contact onto the wire there, and then you just dab a little bit more solder, run it up and down, job done. Make sure you do it in a well ventilated area, not like me. Right, now how do we put that heat shrink up? Number of ways. You can use a hot air gun, which I've got over there. You can use a cigarette lighter and just loosely go over, or what I do, I just use the upper bit of the soldering iron there, just kind of roll it up and down, rotate the cables, very technical, and the heat finds its way through and shrinks it all up quite nicely. just don't go straight onto the insulation. So there we have it. Quite nice. Obviously it's soldered up good. It shrunk up good, reasonably weather tight, certainly good enough for this experiment. We got to find the open end now. Where's the open ends on this thing? The other end. There we go. So remember, in my case, a real messed up bit. One bit's already got the cord on it and the loop, and one bit's open. You can use a pair of strippers. These spring-loaded strippers are good, but where are they? In my toolbox here we have the absolute McCoy vice grip, I think these are called. And I watched somebody's YouTube and these things looked fantastic. It says Irwin, I think it's 207 8300 vice grip. These things do just about anything. So I'm going to strip a bit of cable in there. What are we going to do? Just put the cable through there like that. It will grip it and it pulls a piece off. Not once have those vice grips pulled any strands out. I don't know quite the mechanics of the thing, but you know, as you can see, there's no different edges or anything in here to butt up against. Whereas when you use this kind of stripper, there's like one for each side of the cable. Hopefully I'm holding that still enough. But there's one for each side of the cable to go through there. So yeah, I don't really know how that works, the vice grip one, but it is very, very good. So on this Nelson, he has a wing nut on here and a couple of washers. The wing nut won't come off obviously because of the ring there. You'd have to wrap the cable around between the washers and then bring the wing nut down. So it's not too terrible. The other way you could do it, people like to use ring connectors, like crimp. There we go, like ring crimp connectors, but you can't get a ring crimp connector on there. So you can use like the forked connectors, but I don't like the forked connectors because they have two forks in parallel, not so much contact area. So what I like to do is use a ring connector like that. Say the cable entry is in the bottom here, and I snip out a little bit of the side there. I open it up with a pair of pliers, get it over the bolt there that we're connecting to, yeah, the bolt there where the wire's currently around, and then pinch them back up a little bit with the pliers, and then do that wing nut up, and then that's the best contact area you can get on there, and it's reasonably strong. Now the other thing with this design is don't just do it in like that and pull it out. What you need to do is secure it to this wing nut to this, what would you call that? It's not, that's the wing nut, to this head in a little loop there, and cable tie around, so it's strain relief. It's not going to pull directly on there. I'm sure, do you know what, for this test I won't do that, but if I was going to put that out in the field permanently or after this test, that's what I would do. So a little loop back around there. You can cable tie it up around this part of the loop. It's kind of up to you, but strain relief it somehow. There's plenty of documentation out there to do it. So in our experiment we're pretty much ready to go. I'm going to go outside, hang the coax onto there, come back in, check it on a Rig Expert analyzer, show the SWR plot of it. If it's any good, great. If it's not, we'll stick that 60 centimetre piece of wire on this end, it's the counterpoise for it, and run the test again. Alright, so here we go. Outside, as you've seen, we've just set up the end fed. It's about probably 5 feet above ground, just going up to a fence at about 7 or 8 feet. So it's not very high off the ground, but it's enough for us to do this test to see if there's any resonance. Up here is my currently non-connected HF antenna cable. That's what we plugged into at the other end. And what we're going to do is use the Rig Expert here and check the SWR. So this might not be so easy to do with the video camera there. First thing I'm going to do, as always, just use this knife blade here just to deck out the coax connector, just in case there's anything static wise hanging on that cable. Not anymore. Right, so in she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. Right, we're expecting it to be on 20 metres. So first of all, I'm just going to scan the whole 30 megs and see what's what. So my centre frequency will be 15 megahertz, and my range will be, what will it be? 30 megahertz. And then let's go. Oh, yeah, we do have a couple of dips down there. Nice. So we have somewhere approximately 13 megs down to about 1.4. 17 megs somewhere, about 1.4, and 22.8 megs, there 1 to 1, and then again 25.2. How useful that is, I don't know. Let's take a little picture of this. Okay, so we were looking around the 14 megs, so we're going to centre on 14 again, 14.2 even, that will do, and a range of say 2 megs. A range of 2 megs. Okay, let her go. That's pretty good. Right, so this shot at 14.2 is what I got here. We can see that it's resonant lower down, so I'm going to take it down and rescan to see what that... The bottom of that resonance is 13.46 megs. So the SWR at 14 megs. Let's change the view of this. Not sure if we can or not, but at 14.020 1.46 we'll climb up. 1.47 14040, 14150 I think is about where I'd start. 14140 there, 1.5 to 1. 14192, 1.5 to 1. Very, very usable. 14220, 1.6 to 1. 14287, 1.6 to 1. 14325, 1.6 to 1. So yeah, this is right through the band. Less than 1.6 to 1, 353 there, 1.6 to 1. So that is without our 60 centimetres counterpoise. So I'm interested to know what difference that makes. So before we do that, let's flick back to our other view. 14. Do 14200 and we'll bring the range down to 1 meg. See what she does. Okay, so it's starting off about 1.3 to 1 at 14.2. In the middle there it's 1.5. And we knew that it climbed out to about 1.6 at the far end. Okay, so we've seen what that is, 14.2, 500 kilohertz each way. I'm going to go outside right now and I'm going to stick that 60 centimetres of cable on there and see if there's any difference to this exact screenshot. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes and we'll review this again. We'll do the exact same sweep again and a second photo with the 60 centimetres hanging on the end. What I don't know is what that's like with just say 30 foot of coax on it in QRP conditions. This is my full length of coax, which is probably getting on for 100 foot by the time it's left this shack, gone out under cable under the garden, up into a shed, back out along the roof, etc. It's not a straight run. It's not its shortest run, shall we say. So let's see what's what in a few minutes. So I've just come in from outside, adding the 60 centimetre piece of cable, and we're going to do a direct comparison with the analyzer still connected and see if there's any difference to the last shot. So I can bring up the last shot on the phone here as a comparison, and let's run it again. Identical. Absolutely identical. Let's see if we can bring that in. So there's our camera's gone out. I don't know how well that's coming through, but I'll show them on the screen anyway. It's an identical plot to before. The only thing we can do is I'm going to go back and compare the full sweep that we had. So we had this sweep here, 25, let's run this as a comparison again. This is 25. Our first one was 25 megs plus or minus 15 megs. Let's just see if that's the same as well. So frequency 25 megs, range 15 kilohertz, so that'll be 30 megs. Wow, that 60 centimetres of wire has really brought that down. So we see the same sweep. I'm going to show them up close here, but probably I will give you a photograph. Let's do this. You can see it brings the SWRs right down, generally, the ones in the middle where the cross point are, to a low point. Didn't really make a lot of difference on our 14 megs on our 20 metre thing. That was identical, but it would be useful elsewhere. So let's see, 27 megs, so you can use that on 11 metres as is. 22 megs, there's a null there. And now we're going to have a little look on the low points there. Well, it's usable everywhere basically, because the highest SWR is 2. But let's break out exactly what we're doing. So 500 kilohertz. So she's going down 13.3 megs there. Okay, so its lowest point there is somewhere 13.41 at about 1.3 to 1, but it's under 1.5 right the way across there. So from say 13 megs to 14 megs, it's under 1.5, and we know that where we're interested, I think we're just let's take 14.2 megs, wasn't it, was the reference photo. So we'll do this again. Great, that'll do me.
So this video, if you like it, our video, comment down below a thumbs up.
Thanks for watching VA3SII. Bye.